Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are the Birmingham Concert Band. I am Patrick Jensen, and we are very excited to have our concert here today. In fact, we're excited for two big reasons. This is actually the first major ensemble, large ensemble concert ever in the room that you're sitting in right here. The church was just recently completed, and man, is it beautiful in here, isn't it? It's really wonderful. We're really honored to be here to play a concert for you today. It's a beautiful room, but it's a lively one, isn't it? It's bouncing around all over the place. I think it's going to be good for some of the tunes that we have coming up on our program. The second reason we're very excited to be performing for you today is that this is the start of our 45th concert season here in the Birmingham Concert Band. Really historic occasion for a concert band to be going this long and this strong. You're going to see and hear tonight some really wonderful sounds from a community ensemble. This is not a professional ensemble, but of members of the community, and man, they make it really sound good. They make it give a real polished and professional sound up here. You're going to hear it, some wonderful sounds bouncing around. What we have planned for today is a concert program called the BCB Time Machine. And my plan here is I'm going to take you through some of the highlights of wind music, going all the way back to the Renaissance, which was that first piece we just heard by Giovanni Gabrielli, one of the first composers to actually include complex wind parts in a serious sacred kind of context at the time. One of the themes you're going to hear from me explaining music here today is that in the past, wind musicians weren't seen as the forefront oftentimes. They were kind of seen as like the seasoning on top of the food at the very end, like the finishing salt right at the end of the end of the dish. Usually strings or keyboard instruments were seen as, or choirs, vocals were seen as the meat of the musical ensemble. But over time, wind musicians and percussion musicians as well will start to be incorporated much more prominently. Gabrielli, it's really cool that we got to play a Gabrielli tune first in here because he would have, his music was played in churches all the time, and hopefully you heard one of the hallmarks of his music is the choirs that kind of answer each other. It's a call and response type music where one side of the ensemble will start and another one will answer, and it kind of bounces around. I think it's a wonderful way of composing. The next tune that we're going to do is a heavy one. It's going to be by one of the, in my opinion, one of the greatest composers of all time, a guy named Richard Wagner. Wagner is the name that you probably know from The Ride of the Valkyries. Bum bum ba-da-dum, bum bum ba-da-dum, bum. That's Wagner, and it's probably most popular. What you might not realize for the casual music listener is that Wagner is really one of the most important composers who's ever lived. He's up there with Mozart and Beethoven and Bach in terms of innovation and just pure cleverness when it came to writing music. An extremely prolific composer. He basically never stopped writing music at a time when there was no computer, so he had to do it all by hand. And when he was writing these amazing compositions, he was breaking new ground almost every time. One thing he's very famous for is his use of harmony, which you'll hear much more colorful chords in the tune that we're about to play from him. The second big thing ties into our theme here today is that he loved wind instruments. And he came around at a good time because there was a lot of technological advancements at that time, like valves on brass instruments and stuff like that have allowed more complex music to be played. And instead of having the strings perform all the time, he would sometimes actually drop the strings out altogether and feature just wind musicians. Pretty much the first major composer to do that. So we're going to play a tune that's actually famous for just that. It's an overture from the Meistersinger's opera that he did, and it's one of his mini operas. I bet if you've heard Wagner music, it's probably from an opera, and this is one of his big ones. It's actually an opera about an opera. So an opera being made, and he wrote an opera about it, featuring singers and all that, and we're going to do a wind rendition. In the middle, you'll hear this kind of march part. Bum, bum, that's kind of bouncy part. That was the part in the original composition that was all winds, and the strings would drop out. So hopefully you enjoy it. The Meistersinger's Overture. This is a heavy one. I always like to throw some challenging pieces at the musicians here, and I think they're doing a great job with this one. A wonderfully hard arrangement, but I think a rewarding one at the end of the day. Here it is, the Meistersinger's Overture. that was a big one right there. That was a lot of notes. I want to give special thanks to the clarinet section, which if you see their page compared to other, actually a good story for you. One of my favorite composers is a guy named Frank Zappa, which I know I've told you guys about before. But he has this piece of music that he used to call the Black Page, and it was an audition piece for his drummers in his band. That he called it the Black Page because there were so many notes on the page that it was more black than white on the page. That's what the clarinet parts look like for that last song right there. So I want to give the clarinet section a nice thanks for really putting the extra work in. As a trumpet player, I look at that page. It gives me shivers looking at that page. It's a scary thing. You guys are doing a wonderful job. All right, so we're gonna move ahead in the time machine. That was like the mid 19th century or so. We're gonna go ahead about 100 years to the mid 20th century, talking about the world of jazz music, which I bet a lot of you are very familiar with. One of the great American art forms, and an art form that really is a hero type music for a lot of wind players. And this is a time when wind musicians were really at the forefront. Most of the jazz musicians you're probably thinking in your head, your favorite jazz musicians, are probably wind players, saxophone players, trumpet players, those kind of musicians. Percussionists also became much more valuable during this time period in terms of bands, really relying on that drum set and that big beat. We're not going to quite hear that with this next one, but we are going to hear some percussion by the end of this program. You'll hear it, I swear. But we're gonna do our next tune featuring. We're gonna relax just a little bit with this next one called Stardust. It's a really beautiful atmospheric type arrangement. I think one of my favorite arrangements for jazz and concert band together. Not only a beautiful tune, but the arrangement itself just has some wonderful colors. And one of the great things about this arrangement here is that you're going to hear a bunch of the soloists featured in the band. So some of our wonderful musicians right at the forefront. First off the flute, then the trumpet, and you'll hear some other instruments by the end as well. Hopefully you enjoy it. Oh, by the way, this one's arranged by Sammy Nestico, who was for a long time the Count Basie big band arranger. So all those great Count Basie tunes of the past, you've probably heard some Sammy Nestico in there from time to time. Thank you very much. One of the benefits of being the captain of the time machine is I can go whichever direction I want to go. So we went 100 years into the present with that last one. Now we're going to go backwards in time again, just because it kind of fits the programming a little bit better. But we're going to do a big part of wind history is going to be the military bands that came around in the mid-19th century and became extremely popular in the early 20th century. I know all of you know the most famous wind band of all time, the most famous military band of that time, the John Philip Sousa Band. A good argument to be made, maybe the most popular musical ensemble in the world in the early 20th century. That's how big the John Philip Sousa Band was. But a big rival for John Philip Sousa around that time, not really rival, but maybe a friendly rival, I guess maybe is a better way to put it, is a guy named Edwin Goldman. This is a man who has a great pedigree, was actually in the military himself, formed a band pretty much exactly like the John Philip Sousa Band, and had a lot of success right around the same time. He was kind of second fiddle to John Philip Sousa around that time. What's great about Edwin Goldman, though, is that he was really concentrating on education. And although John Philip Sousa was very famous for performing and recording and getting music out there, Goldman was really involved in getting music into schools, trying to get schools to concentrate on the wind ensemble. You could really make an argument that maybe the reason why there are bands in schools today is because of Edwin Goldman and all the things he did. The marches he wrote, I think, are really fun, and we're going to play one that comes from kind of the early part of the 20th century. It's going to feature some wonderful bugle calling from the trumpets in the back left and back there. It's a tune called On Parade March. Welcome back. Birmingham Concert Band. I'm Patrick Jensen, and we got a second half of music for you, only consisting of two pieces of music, because the first one that we're going to play is a pretty grand piece, almost 20 minutes in length. And it's actually one of the staples of the concert band literature. If I had to put together a top 10 list of the most important wind pieces of all time, I think I'd put Suite Francais right on the top of that list. It's composed by a man named Darius Milhaud, and Darius Milhaud is a French composer, obviously, with the title would ensue, but probably the most prolific composer in music history, perhaps. There's a couple others like Telemann way back in the day that might have a run for his money, but Milhaud literally wrote thousands of pieces of music, and I think after a while he just got kind of bored writing the same ensembles that everybody else does, so you get these really strange like combinations of instruments you just don't see other places, where he'll take this, out of the way instrument, let's smash them together and see what happens. And I think he was kind of fascinated with the wind band in that sort of way, where it's not the typical orchestral sound. We can go for something a little bit different. Now, the actual origins for this, and kind of why I included it right here in the program, is because it links together with the piece we just played, the On Parade March, written by Edwin Goldman. Edwin Goldman started up the American Bandmasters Association, which is still a prominent organization in the world of band music. One of the goals of the American Bandmasters Association was to grow awareness for concert band music, but also get it in the schools, like I was talking about before. He wanted to get the music in there. A big part of that was creating literature for the band that was beyond transcriptions of orchestral music. So like the Wagner we heard earlier, it was originally for orchestra and kind of transcribed out for this ensemble right here, so getting rid of the strings and just including winds. But he also wanted to break away from that, break away the military band, and create an original composition foundation for the world of concert band music. And a lot of the pieces that Goldman and the ABA commissioned are still the staples of the concert band world to this day. Now, what I find funny about this piece right here is that Milhaud, he even says in the program notes in my score that he wrote this specifically for high school level musicians. He dreamed that seniors in high school around America were going to be playing this music. It is way too hard for most high school ensembles to even approach. There's some really laughable parts where it's just, I've never seen a high school that can it has the instrumentation, the talent all in one group, because there's so many exposed parts and weird keys and stuff like that. But our ensemble, I think, is definitely up for the challenge. The movements that you see presented are different regions around France, and this was written right during World War II, right at the tail end of World War II. And Milhaud said he also wanted, when the bands of America, the high school bands as he wanted, playing this music, he wanted it to kind of remind or show the people in America where their fathers, where the fight was happening in World War II at the time. So kind of different important placements in the World War II battlefield. Some of the movements are lively and upbeat, and I think we have this kind of folk dancey sort of sound to it. And then you'll hear other movements that I think have more of a forlorn sort of sound. And I think one of the movements, it almost sounds like a foggy night on the harbor. So very, very cinematic type music. Lots of differences here. We'll play all 5 movements right in a row. Hopefully enjoy Suite Francais. Thank you very much. This makes me sound like a real music nerd, but I have these pieces in my mind that I want to conduct, and I kind of dreamed to conduct one day. That was actually one of the ones right there. I feel awesome. We got a chance to do that and share it with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. It's a off the beaten path for the typical listener, but I think a wonderful piece of music. So we're actually at the end of our program right. Oh, thank you. We're actually at the end of our program here tonight. We got one more tune for you that's nice and fun, kind of a toe tapper to leave you out. We do have a wonderful concert season, though. Remember, this is our 45th concert season. We got a lot of good stuff planned. In December, we have our holiday concert, which is actually going to feature Dave Wagner on the organ, which we're really excited to have him come and perform. He's the organist here at the church, and wonderful personality on the radio, and a world-class organist. So we're excited to have him come and join us. In February, we're going to do a space-themed concert, BCB in space. They got some fun stuff there. If you know the planets, Jupiter and Mercury and Venus, that wonderful orchestral tune, we're going to do a great band rendition of that, as well as some other favorites of Star Wars and stuff like that. And then for our 45th anniversary concert, which is going to be happening in the spring, we have some great things in mind. The clarinet soloist is going to come perform with us. We're having an original composition commissioned for the ensemble for the occasion. So we got a lot of fun stuff in hand. I'm sure in your program you got the concert schedule there. If you have the website there as well, visit that. Talk to us afterwards if you want any more information about all those concerts coming up. I always like to give a reminder to audiences that this is a full volunteer ensemble. These are members of the community up here, and I really appreciate all the hard work they put into playing each performance. It's a community ensemble, which means that you too can perform in this ensemble if you choose. So it's a great thing. We try not to have a really high pressure situation. The goal in this ensemble is to have fun, just get together on Wednesdays and celebrate music and celebrate each other's friendship and all that. We practice on Wednesday nights throughout the year, and we're always looking for new members. So if you're itching to get back into it, if you haven't played your instrument in several years, get the cobwebs off of it, dust off the horn, come on Wednesday night and perform with us. A great time to come if you're thinking about it. Is this Wednesday, just because we're starting a new concert cycle, and maybe you'll be up here on Christmas time performing with the BCB. So once again, thank you very much for having us. Thank you to the church for hosting us once again. This is such a beautiful room, and I think this is a great way to kick off the concert season and kick off the concerts in here in general. The first big concert I think in here ever, which is so cool. So cool. So thank you very much. I'm Patrick Jensen. This is the Birmingham Concert Band. Hopefully we'll see you around Christmas time. Have a safe trip home. The last tune for you here is going to be an arrangement of All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, which of course rock bands throughout the 60s, 70s, and even today use horns all the time. The Beatles had a real affinity for it, and I think you'll hear a cool rendition. We're going to have some fun with the end of this one. So here you go. All You Need Is Love. Thanks again for coming out. Hopefully we'll see you next time.